The Demon. With his eyes fixed on the lobby of the UCL Archaeology Wing, Bennett suddenly noticed his toe was tapping and forced it to stop.
What's keeping them?
All he wanted in that moment was to see Alex and Casey make it safely outside, having found the smallest Gehenna stone. Once the team had it, hopefully Joseph would be forced to come looking for them for once.
Then we should be able to apprehend him easily. The guy sounded like a 200-year-old asthmatic. How much of a fight could he put up?
Bennett lost track of Hannah and Felix when the group split up to keep watch of other possible ways in or out of the building. Posted across the street, kneeling in a thin alleyway that extended into darkness behind him, he could see the main entrance clearly, and at least 6 minutes of quiet had gone by. Though he had no reason to be worried yet, Bennett had the feeling something had gone wrong. As the moments plodded on, the area around the building and the dense city park drifted into a pleasant, quiet evening, which for some reason made him even more uncomfortable.
Ugh, you're up.
Adjusting his weight to keep his right leg from falling asleep, Bennett swatted at an insect buzzing around his ear.
Why did Casey only want Alex to come along? I mean, I helped her too, and she sat next to me in the Jeep. And why did Hannah let them go alone? Al's gotten strong, sure, but I don't think he's ready for this kind of thing.
Another fly zoomed a halo around Bennett's head.
Buzz off! If Joseph's got the lead on us, there's a good chance he already has the rock. There's also a good chance Al and Casey might run into him.
Another bug buzzed Bennett's ear. He swatted it, but 2 more took its place. Then 3. A mess of flies was suddenly vying for his attention.
Did I get too close to a dumpster, or...?
A quick search of the area revealed no dumpster. Gnats joined the bug circus. Bennett fought to continue his vigil, but couldn't focus as a haze of winged insects filled the air around him. Closing his eyes, he sensed the bugs were giving off wrath and dread. It was a minuscule trace, but, when combined, created a red and orange fog, dulling his senses. The distraction was enough to blind him from the broiling energy coming up behind him, until it was within a few yards. He spun when there was a soft, slippery sound, like a wet leather whip. Facing the alley of black nothingness with open eyes, Bennett closed them again, finding a bright sun suddenly before him, a moving blaze cascading down with tendrils, hair, legs, claws, and God knows what else. It was wrath, as heavy as a pickup truck, swirling, blinding, and overcoming. The dragon of fire approached, well over 6 feet long, sometimes moving as swiftly as a hurricane, other times as slowly as drizzling honey. Bennett immediately found the resemblance between it and the statues at the foot of the stairs in Gehenna. This thing was no mystery to him. He knew exactly what he was in the presence of. A shrill, high-pitched, mangled voice spoke from the shadows, making his cheeks involuntarily tense and shudder.
What is this?
Bennett opened his eyes. What is what? 2 thin, curved, red eyes with tall, dark pupils flew out of the darkness. Bennett was surrounded by a black and red cyclone, which flung itself back into obscurity.
This one was right. This one did feel rapture nearby,
the demon said.
Rapture within a human form could only mean a fallen celestial. Yet, your face is not known. Alias is the knower of faces. This cannot stand.
I'm usually an exception to stuff. Can I help you with something?
Bennett asked, feeling his toe tap coming back.
This one spreads its name far and wide, yet you do not know this one?
Nope,
Bennett said, pointing both thumbs at himself.
And this one was minding its own business until you came along. Feel free to return the favor.
The demon slowed and raised its cheeks into a nightmarish smile.
This one's arrival has caused you distress. Is it dread? Surely not wrath. In a celestial? What would one of your kind fight in its mind? Memories of war, perhaps?
Nobody likes remembering those days.
The creature did another loop around him, sniffing harder.
So few memories, yet so much regret and pain.
Aliaeus laughed.
So much fear. Yes, this one can smell it. Fear of a gun.
It angled its nose higher.
A man and a baby. Regret. Mountains of it. And family. Yes. An older male. Yes. A father or brother. Such grief and woe. These are not the memories of a celestial. If this one did not know better, perhaps the rumors are true.
Hope this demon's as dumb as it seems.
What rumors? Bennett asked.
Surely you are kidding. Why, those of humans force-fed the Eve and sent on a holy goose chase.
Don't know anything about it.
The community speaks of it madly. Trivium is blacked out. The dullard Landwin senator accused of birthing the charge is to be tried. Yet most still blame Eros.
The demon barked.
Hypocrisy.
Bennett folded his arms to keep them from shaking.
Oh, right. I heard about that. If you're subtly implying something, I suggest you openly imply it.
This one implies nothing. This one believes every word you've uttered, and is simply curious. Now, fallen celestial, what are you doing in a London alley, smelling of recent battle?
Bennett couldn't help getting uneasy.
What do you mean?
The demon laughed again.
This one meant no offense. Alias will never forget the smell of wrath clashing with rapture. It makes such a special brew, taking one back to the days of Infurious, days Alias enjoyed.
A welcome voice spoke up. Glad someone did, because I sure didn't. Hannah stepped into the alley entrance, her hands tucked into her jacket pockets, out for a casual stroll.
Oh, thank God.
The demon hissed, flapping its tongue like a spring doorstop.
General, what a surprise.
Shouldn't be. I live on this planet. She stepped forward. As she did, the insect cloud parted, as if she were a giant bug candle. What about you, Aeus? Checking out the digs? Thinking of leaving Eros? Settling on Earth?
Bah! Life on Earth is a punishment. Are you so indoctrinated you've forgotten? Or is it all the moss and thresh this one hears you imbibe to drown away your sorrows?
Probably the moss, Hannah said. Funny you should mention it. I was just headed for a drowning session. There's a place around the corner that does rubbing alcohol and cance juice shots. Who's in? First and last rounds are on me.
This one's days of candor with other shades of Eve are long over. No.
Alias said, slinking around Hannah.
Besides, this one would hate to contribute to the downward spiral of the legacy of the great Highwind General of Io.
I was just being polite. Get over yourself, she said, waiting patiently for them to finish swimming around her, as though she were a tailor getting her pant seam measured. The demon finally swooped away and rejoined the shadows.
This one has not misplaced its manners. This one will not keep you from your drink. But, General, before you go, perhaps you will help solve a mystery. This one has never seen the likes of this fallen celestial. What does it call itself?
The thin black irises fixed on the soldier. Bennett, he answered as plainly as possible.
Bennett. Yes. If you could help this one identify him, Alias will remain the knower of faces. As a general of Highwind, excuse me, former general, this one assumes you know him.
Hannah yawned. I don't care about your stupid self-given title. But no, he wasn't one of mine, and it doesn't look like he wants visitors. So why don't you and I both leave him alone? The demon swirled in the darkness.
Tell us, Celestial Bennett, warrior of Infurious, your captain's name.
My captain? This is getting ridiculous,
Bennett said.
Lack of pride is a wretched stench. This one smells it on both of you. This one remembers their commander well. Eleuvos, the Solemn, Lord Commander of the armies of Eros. This one was proud to follow their commander through the war of all wars.
Except he didn't exactly get you through Infurious, did he? Hannah said with a dismissive smirk. Commander Uvos was killed at Lanyon Peninsula.
A battle won by Eros. A crowning day.
Alias spit into the light. It landed on the sidewalk and began to erode the concrete.
Fuck.
I can't believe you guys still go on about this. Hannah groaned. Is it really that hard to admit you lost a war?
Using the miscreant Bobans and corrupting Doloros into the heathen camp was a cheat. Highwind stole its power and used it to place itself as overlord of the Senate. But make no mistake, Eros was not defeated and shall rise again.
What are you assholes talking about?
The Lostros joined the Alliance all on their own. Hannah shouted like a heated mom at a Little League game. They hated Lucifer as much as everyone else. By the time he invaded Highwind, everyone had had enough of it. Face it, you backed the wrong horse. Alias began to laugh.
What makes you think this one supports the fallen celestial?
Heavy footfalls suddenly neared. Felix charged around the corner, having only spotted Bennett and Hannah, whispering, "Hey, watch out! I think there might be an imp." Hannah cut him off. "Wow, Felix, weird seeing you here." The janitor was slow on the uptake, but played along. "Hi, Hannah. Crazy seeing you too. What a collection of people to run into. That's what I was doing, by the way. Running, jogging. I also see we have a pure breed present. How's it hanging, Aes?"
Near vile,
the demon snarled. "Actually, it's Felix now. I know you knew that, but whatever. Who acts polite anymore? So, how'd you get your skinny red ass out of Eros?"
with honor. Unlike you, this one also kept their beast-given name.
"Come on, tell me the truth. You snuck out, huh?" Felix said. The demon was reduced to a slow swim through the air, speaking in a low tone.
This one sees you shaking. Is it fear? Dread? Having spent so much time on Earth with humans, looking like one, you must think this one a demon from hell.
"I don't believe in hell. I'm just cold. But I do believe in assholes, because I'm staring at one right now," Felix said.
You tiny pale nebbish,
Aes hissed, flinging out of the shadows, stopping just shy of headbutting Felix, who made a PU face and waved them away. "Ugh, you guys still don't clean your teeth? Say what you will about Earth, at least it has hygiene."
Better this than the smell of failure and jubilee,
Aes screamed. The demon and former demon faced off, baring their teeth. Bennett caught a glint of orange Eve burst in Felix's eyes, which died away when Hannah placed herself between the conflict. "You two want to cut the bullshit before we all get in trouble with the tribunal?" she bellowed. "I don't feel like dealing with a formal inquiry by the counselors when things go back to normal. Do you?" Aes returned to the shadows.
The murderous traitor started it.
"Lick my butt, Aes," Felix said. The demon roared, flaring lines of red-hot cinder outlining their body. "Speaking of being honorable to your clan, do the Aelie know you're here?" Hannah asked the demon. "Not trying to break the covenant and influence things, are we?" Aes faced its head to the sky and barked like a thunderous bird of prey. Their eyes, once burning with the softness of oil lanterns, were now blazing like campfires.
Do not speak to this one about that bastard document. The pathetic notion of solitude between the kingdoms disgusts all true archfiend.
Felix jumped in. "Doesn't matter what you think. Comes with sticking to one side, bud. You have to do what the one voice says, no matter what."
You've forgotten the one voice. Niall Vile abandoned it when he betrayed his brethren.
Aes screamed. "You guys abandoned reason first," Felix said. Hannah broke the volley. "And you still haven't told us what you're doing on Earth." The demon rose over her, puffing their chest.
Despite whatever rules you believe govern the universe, in this place, in this form, you are weak, General. This one could tear you apart, and no amount of rapture could save you once I've severed your head. Lest you forget, you are no longer a jailer. Alias is not in chains. At least not yet. And is allowed to drink the fruits of the earth from time to time.
No, you're not. And I'm not afraid, Hannah said. Now, move along before I call the Medolians. Steam huffed out the demon's long nose.
Yes, call the old flame. Claim your special treatment.
Hannah said nothing in response, and with a blast of smoke, the demon bowed.
Alias, the knower of faces, is satisfied, and will now and forever know Bennett the Celestial.
The creature soared into the sky.
Have a blessed night.
Alias swept back and forth, angling toward the moon. Their Eve signature grew faint as they passed behind rows and rows of apartment buildings until Bennett could no longer feel their presence. A silent moment passed before he turned to Felix, who put up a flat hand, quieting him before he could speak. Please don't, Felix said. I know you don't want to judge me, but I also know you won't be able to help it, so it's fine. I've come to terms with what I used to be. With one last glance toward the sky, Felix stepped away. His head hung low. Bennett didn't want to press it any further. He turned to Hannah and let out a relieved sigh, shaking, knowing it wasn't from the cold. Thanks for the backup. Her ever-watchful eyes were still scanning the sky. If they found out you were human, things could have taken a bad turn. This doesn't make sense. Why is Aius out here? Bennett shook his head. I think they do know about me. They're playing games with us. We should get Alex and Casey and get out of here. What makes you say that? Felix asked. They knew everything. About my brother? My dad? Bennett cut himself off and started again. The demon knew it all. Nah, it was guessing. Demons can see fears to an extent. Then they fill in the rest. It's a classic fortune teller scam. You might be surprised to know how many of them are actually demons in disguise, trying to make a living, Felix said. Bennett then noticed Hannah had exited the conversation, her attention square on the UCL archaeology building. Hannah? Felix asked. She closed her eyes and turned her head, as though listening. Someone's here. Immediately after, groups of lights within the building began going dark one by one, starting from the lower right corner, working up to the higher floors on the left.
A power outage?
Just before the final lights went out, a low-frequency blast, like a car bomb, went off. A chilling scream followed, and Bennett felt a glimmer of wrath from inside the school. That was Alex, Felix said. Hannah darted out of the alley, muttering, Damn it, and jumped over a taxi's hood. Felix and Bennett followed, though the soldier was nearly left behind. At the lobby entrance, Hannah spun and stopped him with a cold palm to the chest. Stay here, in case Joseph slips through. Bennett tried to push on. We should go in together. With a hard look from her icy eyes, he was stopped. Hannah and Felix bolted through the front door and across the lobby at breakneck speed into a stairwell, while Bennett growled, feeling his rapture weaken from his anger.
Fucking kids' table.
He backed into the street to get a better view of the higher floors as more sounds escaped. Screams, crashes, possible explosions, moving about the building, centered on the 4th floor. Local residents and businesses were waking up and taking notice. Dozens of faces peered out from neighboring windows as pedestrians gathered. Bennett held his arms out wide, pressing them back, and dropped naturally into his squad leader voice. "There was an explosion inside. Glass is falling. Keep your distance and wait for the cops. Stay back." The citizens of Bloomsbury acquiesced and resorted to getting out their phones, letting Bennett turn his attention back to the archaeology building, which was in the throes of what sounded like an animal escape at the zoo. A human scream broke through the chaos.
"Casey! Fuck Hannah's orders. I'm not just standing here."
Bennett started toward the front steps, his fists turning heavy and blue, when a horrid, alien howl cascaded out of the building, a pitch nearly too high for human ears. A window overhead shattered. Bennett ducked out of the way and caught a glimpse of a body, covered in blood, wearing cargo pants and a black t-shirt, soaring through the air. A spray of glass, wood bits, and steel flew with it.
"Al?"
The body careened toward the park across the street, landed on a spiked steel fence with a bang, and bounced into a mess of shadowed greenery. Changing course and running as fast as his legs could propel him, Bennett felt his eardrums raked by another high-pitched scream, clearer and closer. Turning his gaze upward, he saw a black figure crawl out of the broken fourth-floor window, like a four-legged spider. Leather straps and coat flaps dangled as it traversed the wall and reached the roof, where it climbed out of sight. With no way Bennett could catch it, he continued on his path toward the park, passing the entrance. Searching the grounds, he quickly spotted the section of fence missing a few steel barbs, where Alex had landed. The body of the teacher was lying in a clump of bushes at its base. "Al!" Bennett shouted. Even from this distance, he could see dark blood spreading on the ground around Alex. Stumbling into the mess of barbed plants, Bennett got a grip on Alex, who had welts stamped into his skin like brands, scattered around various contusions. His femur and 4 of the ribs on his left side were broken, twisted, poking in and out of the skin. But the worst injury was a 15-inch long fence post shoved through his lower chest. The teacher was unconscious, somehow still alive, fighting for breath as fluid filled his lungs. "Al! Wake up! You can heal this, remember? Wake up, pal! We got it worse than this with the Raythians, remember? Come on!" Alex coughed up a heap of black blood, but remained asleep. "We can't lose you, man. Come on, find some rage. Get mad." Bennett gripped the barb to retrieve it from his chest, but found it looked too deadly to pull out in either direction.
"If this guy dies, everyone is going to kill me."
A sudden rise in power nearby made Bennett tense up. The signature was familiar, yet he had trouble placing it. He shielded his eyes from an approaching shift just as a loud bang and forceful wind pushed him off balance, and a voice he recognized spoke. "You two?" The Medolian Mara was there, gripping her staff tightly in both hands, taking flustered breaths.
"Sure hope you're here to help."
She approached, glancing around the area as though voices were speaking to her from all directions.
"What's she hearing?"
"What are you doing here?" Bennett asked. Mara hardly paid them any attention. "I came when I sensed something. What is happening? Where is Isaiah?" "That's what I want to know. We found Joseph," Bennett said, pointing across the street. "He's getting away. Maybe with a Gehenna rock. I'm not sure, but we need help here." "Gehenna? Who's we?" she asked without taking a glance at Alex. "Al, me, Hannah, and Felix. Please, He's hurt. Mara did a double take. Hannah? Yeah, but look, he's dying. Mara wasn't listening. She lifted her staff, ready to shift away. Wait! I need help! Bennett cried. Mara rolled her eyes and stepped over to them. Gripping the barb in Alex's chest, she pulled it free in one swift move and dropped it onto the walkway with a splash of blood. Alex coughed, his lungs now partly missing, seconds from dying. What did you do that for? Bennett shrieked. You didn't want me to get it out of him? Mara asked without flinching, stepping away. Fucking no! I meant heal him! Me? You're the one with rapture. Mara stabbed her staff into the ground, disappearing in a twisting ball of white.
Fucking Medolians!
Bennett looked down on the teacher in his arms.
She's right. I can do this. I just have to find the need. Think. Get the rapture. Do what you did before. In the cave. Remember Jerry. What would he be feeling right now?
Bennett's hands pulsed cobalt blue. The wings on his shoulders were starting to ache. A heavy, cold storm set itself in his gut.
The mission. Focus on the mission. Alex is necessary for its success. He has to get back on his feet.
Without his doing, the soldier's thoughts swerved to his other family, the one he'd lost when he tried to forget his time in service to his country.
Yeah, the squad. That's good. That will help. George, Lance, Ilhan.
The feeling of war came back to him, but not the aspects built on rage, the ones in between, when trust was built with his peers. He saw his squad mates, each of their faces, heard their voices and their jokes.
I would have taken a bullet for any of them. Still would, because they were my team, my family. I forgot that feeling somewhere along the way.
Bennett's eyes opened. The man in his arms had stopped breathing. His fire was almost out.
I've been so blind. I'm sorry, Al. My team is my family, and you're my team now. I would take your place if I could.
The feeling of absolute zero ran up Bennett's spine, forcing it into perfect place. He bellowed, channeling his will and the weight of rapture into his limbs.
Come on, fix him. You know what a human is supposed to look like.
He pressed his hands on Alex's chest over the primary wound.
Get in there. Heal.
With eyes closed, Bennett saw brilliant violet and cobalt blue transfer from his hands to Alex, where it mixed with red and orange. Rather than be snuffed out, the fire was ignited. Wrath sprang up around and through his body. Alex gasped, spewing blood, taking beleaguered breaths.
There it is!
Bennett shouted.
Just stick with it.
Alex screamed, wide-eyed, awakening to pain as the wounds throughout his body snapped, cracked, and rolled into place. Incisions scabbed over. Bruises returned to skin tone. Light radiated from the injuries until they were fully healed, and as the final wound set, Alex shook his head, like Bennett had just dumped ice water over him, and gave a final shout. What happened to Casey?
Not sure. We're outside. You got thrown out a window.
Alex pulled himself up to a seated position, leaning to see the broken window across the street and the mangled fence post, rubbing his chest with a groan. Oh, right. He then seemed to first notice the blue glow surrounding Bennett. That was you?
Think so.
Bennett helped him to his feet. Once standing, Alex pushed the help away and brushed off some remaining twigs and leaves. Good trick to know.
You're welcome.
Bennett powered down when he noticed civilians watching from afar. We have to get inside. Joseph is here, Alex said sharply.
I know. I saw him take off. What about the stone? Did you find it?
Bennett asked. Alex's eyes snapped up, blazing. He got away? Next thing Bennett knew, they were sprinting toward the park exit, crossing the street, and scaling the steps of the archaeology building. The rapture had certainly done the trick, as Alex was now moving like a damned jackrabbit. They entered the lobby, passed an abandoned security desk, and broke for the stairwell. Alex climbed quickly, and Bennett felt the rapture making his steps land softer, yet push off harder. Bounding several feet at a time, he was able to catch up as they reached the fourth-floor door, which suddenly sprang open. Everyone screamed in surprise when Felix stumbled through, wielding a microscope as a club. At the sight of Alex, he beamed and dropped the instrument, hugging him. You're okay! Thank the Eve for good news. Thanks to Bennett, Alex said. Felix shook Bennett's hand. My man, learning the rapture. Also, glad to see you're not dead. Where's Casey? Alex asked. Still in the lab. Joseph snapped her neck. What? Alex screamed.
Yeah, what?
Darn. Sorry, no, she's fine, Felix said, waving their worries away. Hannah was right there. Caught her before she even hit the ground. Casey's still standing. Says she feels amazing. Also, heads up, we have a new guest, which is already proving to be very interesting. Come on! Felix led them away from the stairwell with a youthful excitement and down the murky hall, which looked as though it had been host to a flaming car crash. Bennett's boots crunched on glass littering the floor as they charged. I take it this means the stones are real. Sounds like it. And Joseph got away with one. Now he's got two. We caught him and a Medolian beating up on Alex. She shifted away with another lady. Human, I think. Joseph stayed behind to keep us off the Med's trail. Fucker is strong. Not sure where he ran off to. I was unconscious. When I woke up, Mara was here. It's been a strange couple of minutes. They stopped at a project lab door where Bennett could hear raised voices inside. Oh, and just so you know, Hannah can get a little snappy around her ex. Felix turned the doorknob.
X?
Bennett followed him into a room so dark he could hardly see. What little he could make out was a lab in complete disarray. Tables and chairs had been flipped and hurled to every corner. Exposed electrical wiring sparked, lighting the outskirts of the lab, where a rural library's worth of shelves with glass cases, wooden boxes, and scads of science equipment was toppled like dominoes. 3 figures were standing near a white table at the room's center, and the only working lamp. Hannah and Mara were face to face, silhouetted in the light, inches from one another, arguing. Mara's was the first full sentence Bennett could make out. Why is it every time I think I'm finally free of you, you find a way to smash your existence back into mine? Just the way I roll, honey. Or did you forget? Hannah asked. And by the way, blaming me for everything isn't going to work this time. If you guys had done your jobs in the first place, none of this would have ever happened. The Medolians had no way of finding the Archfiend. Clearly, now we know why. You saw what I saw, Mara shouted. Bennett found Casey tucked off to the side, watching the exchange with a mixture of curiosity and horror. When she spotted he and Alex alive, she hurried over, arms wide. "I'm so glad you're okay." Bennett smiled politely, getting out of the way so she could hug Alex, surprised when she latched onto him instead.
"Oh, hi."
"I was so worried about you," she said. "Did you catch Alex?" Her warm gaze made Bennett blush.
Shucks.
"Not exactly." Alex interjected. "Yep, I'm all healed. Might have even died again." Casey gave him a high five. "I think I died too. Thank you for fighting for me. I know you did your best." "Thanks," the teacher said, smiling through gritted teeth. Casey motioned at the ongoing argument. "They've been going like this since the lady in the hood showed up. Who is she?" Mara gave Hannah a hefty, fake laugh. "Ha! Glad to know you think this, like everything else, is just a game. And I'm shocked to hear you're taking something so seriously," Hannah said, with a mock slap of her own face. "What if this had been a trap, or a raid I'd planned?" Mara growled. You'd have ruined any chance of success." Hannah stooped low enough to use a daffy voice. Sorry, Mom. Didn't realize I needed permission before I did anything on this here Earth planet." Mara sneered and pointed at Felix. "You and your imp janitor's involvement may have broken the covenant." "Hey!" Felix said, his brow scrunched to a weak, offended hurt. Hannah scoffed and scowled. "Mara Lauren." Mara dropped her eyes to the floor. "Sorry, Felix. I didn't mean it. Hannah, can we have this discussion in private?" "There's no discussion to have," Hannah answered. "Me, Casey, and the guys are ready for action. You're either with us or against us, because knowing what we know and seeing what I just saw, I can tell you we're very low on time." Mara stomped over to Alex and Bennett, taking them by the arms. "If that's the question, then I'm against you. As the only UnEarth authority figure present, I'm doing what should have been done from the beginning, and will be taking the humans back to the tribunal, where their fates will be decided. The search for Joseph will be continued by me." A gush of indoor wind struck. At the same time, a flash appeared as an eave gate opened, one not created by anyone in the room. This shift was stretched wider than most, and was more turbulent, sending apple-green sparks into the air as 3 new figures landed. "Are we too late? Where are they?" a scratchy voice boomed. A green-handled cane appeared first, followed by the rest of Isaiah hobbling into view, accompanied by the Midolians Galinthia and Fabian. The expressions on all 3 of their faces said they were looking for a fight.